Here in Foxborough with our Patriots insider, Jeff Howe of The Athletic. Jeff, obviously toughest test of the year for the Patriots this Sunday in Baltimore on the road against a 5-2, pretty good Ravens team that's coming off a bye week. I think it's their biggest test because of Lamar Jackson. You agree?
It's not just Lamar Jackson. Mark Ingram's having a really good year. Mark Ingram's two backups are both averaging over 4 yards per carry. The Patriots, in terms of yards per carry, middle of the pack. It's the only real nitpick that you have with that defense. They just got beat up a little bit by Nick Chubb, who is an otherworldly talent, but 3 of their last 5 games, the Patriots have allowed at least 130 rushing yards. So if you want to focus in on one area, the Patriots defense has to prove that they can stop a run-first offense like Baltimore. Not just for now, but you're going to see other teams, if the Ravens have success, be a little more patient with their offense, and then you might see Baltimore again in the playoffs.
So let's talk about Lamar Jackson and the unique challenge, in my opinion, that he presents. Look, Bill Belichick has usually done well against running quarterbacks. I got to give this kid some respect. I'm not sure that he runs to throw like Patrick Mahomes, but he's got 11 touchdowns throwing. He's got 3 running. By the way, Tom Brady has 3. But talk about the unique challenge, the dual threat that Lamar Jackson is to the Patriots.
Yeah, he's awesome when he takes off. He's faster than any quarterback probably in the league. I mean, he's the modern-day Michael Vick. So we'll see with the Patriots' team speed up front. I thought their speed in the front 7 stood out in Week 4 against Buffalo and Josh Allen. When Allen tried to escape the pocket and run, the Patriots closed. I mean, John Simon showed up a lot. Kyle Van Noy showed up a lot. I think in this game against Lamar Jackson, you're probably going to see guys like Devin McCourty and Patrick Chung serve as spies in the box, along with a Van Noy or some of those edge guys, just to make sure that, because when Jackson breaks the pocket, he's a danger to go 30, 40 yards. He's that quick. So it's going to be a huge test in making sure that, those are the plays that really drive you crazy as a defense. You think you got the guy bottled up, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's gone. You mentioned Patrick Mahomes. He can make every throw on the field. Lamar Jackson isn't there yet. You saw what happened when he was struggling, when he was forced to throw in the playoffs last year. So the Patriots, if they play well on first and second down and force him into those passing situations, I think you're going to expose some vulnerabilities with his arm.
You already talked about the threat to the Patriots defense because of how good Baltimore can run the football. Let's talk in particular, which we've done all year long, about the Patriots linebackers, but specifically Jamie Collins, Dante Hightower, and Kyle Van Noy. They're going to have one of their best games of the year combined, aren't they?
Oh, no doubt about it. And Jamie Collins right now is my Patriots MVP through the first 8 games of the season. He's outstanding as a blitzer in passing situations, but he also leads them in run stuffs. He's already got 8 run stuffs, which is a season's worth for a player, which is remarkable. But Kyle Van Noy's been their best pass rusher, as expected, yet again. And Dante Hightower is, you call him like the glue guy, but you can always expect that big play anytime from Hightower in a clutch situation. Those are their 3 best pass rushers. So you've got that front 3 or 4, depending on what the type of front Belichick is using in a particular game, who's really good at eating up blocks and allowing those linebackers to tee off. So I think you're going to see a lot of pressure to not just collapse the pocket, but to force Jackson to make throws earlier than he wants to and expose that arm again.
Let's talk about Tom Brady against the Baltimore defense. Now, Ed Reed, Ray Lewis are not walking through that door. This is not your parents' Baltimore Ravens defense. They're pretty good, but what are they? And what do you expect from Tom Brady against this defense?
So far, they've been good enough, and that's about it. This is a team that lost a ton of talent defensively in free agency. So they are, they always draft well, they always develop well, but they don't have the star power that can really tee off on a quarterback that you're used to seeing. So you don't have that C.J. Mosley. You don't have some of those big linebackers who can really get after Brady, guys that you've had historically give Brady problems. So again, they brought in Earl Thomas, and he's a great safety, no doubt about that, but this is a defense that if Brady is able to have some time, if the offensive line plays better than they did against Cleveland, I expect Brady to be able to pick them apart.
All right, so let's talk about the offense, and let's talk about this game in particular, because Patriots after this game go to their bye week, but then it starts to get tough. You're playing Kansas City, you're playing Dallas, you're playing at Houston. It's not the Jets, the Redskins, and the Giants that you had before, right? So what do you expect from Tom Brady in the way of progress and this offense this Sunday night? What do they need to do?
They need to give him time. They really have to. I know they're playing with James Ferentz against Cleveland, who was a backup and a guy who was cut to start the season in place of Shaq Mason, but you got to give them time. I mean, they allowed, I think it was 14 disruptions, which was a season high by a decent amount. Cleveland has a great front, so I would expect the offensive line to be better against Baltimore, but Brady can still make all the throws. I mean, his two best throws were in a span of 6 plays to Mohamed Sanu and Ben Watson against the Browns. The weather started to clear up. They gave him just enough time. The throw to Sanu was a check pre-snap. So Brady is still able to do all the stuff that you're accustomed to seeing. It's just, is the offensive line going to give him the time to do that? And then if they do, you got N'Keal Harry coming back. You're going to have Mohamed Sanu get better week by week. And I think that you're going to be deep enough to give opposing defenses problems if he has time.
What are you expecting from Nick Folk? Make some extra points?
That'd
be nice.
Yeah, you just need a guy that you can trust. I mean, you don't have to trust him that much now, but can you trust him come January? Because my goodness, this team has a historically good defense. They have the greatest quarterback of all time. They have more than enough to get to the Super Bowl and do some real damage. But we've seen what happens to Super Bowl caliber defenses or teams in the past, especially Chicago, where a kicker just, torpedoes their season.
Right. Let's finish with a comment about the significance of this game. I'll give you my take. Tell me if I'm overstating it. I think it might be the biggest game of the year, and I'll tell you why. It's an AFC game. It's on the road. It's a prove-it game, even though the Patriots have some distance between them and the rest of the contenders in the AFC. They lose this game. You add up all the factors. That distance gets shorter. There's some questions about them. They're going into a bye week to talk about it. I don't know. It's certainly the biggest game so far. I think when we look back at the season, like the Pittsburgh game last year that they lost, which turned out to be huge, this could be the biggest game of the year for them.
Well, if they win this game, then you set yourself up for those 2 games later in the season that you mentioned, Houston and Kansas City, where they will have some room for error. So if they beat Baltimore, assuming they don't lose to a team that is severely inferior to them the rest of the way, again, you're going to have room for error in terms of playoff seeding. They've got the number 1 seed certainly at their grasp, and they should get it, quite frankly. But if they lose, it gets a lot closer. Right. If you lose to Baltimore, then all of a sudden you put yourself in a situation where you're probably going to have to beat both Kansas City and Houston just to make sure you secure that top seed. I mean, they're going to have a first-round bye, but do you really want to go on the road? Do you want to make it as difficult as you made it last year when you had to go win that awesome game in Kansas City?
I'm looking forward to them facing a challenge Sunday night and see how they respond.
You know what? Their first 8 games, and I'm not using this as a knock against the defense, but their first 8 games, they have not played an offense that's ranked higher than the top 21 in scoring. The Ravens are number 2, so this is as good as it's going to get.
All right, Jeff Howe of The Athletic. I'm Butch Stearns.